how do I start seeing my small business as a global business? How does tech fit into it?
First and foremost, you can leverage technology, but you need the skill. If you look at our education systems, we don't adapt fast enough to adapt to the changing technology. What they are learning in school, even in the best universities, is not what is being practiced in the market.
Mumbi, she's a powerhouse when it comes to tech matters.
What I'm trying to do in my position, the little I'm trying to give back to the community, to Africa, is to empower as many young people with technology skills as possible. And the beauty of it, we decided for the first 1 million, we're going to do it in form of a scholarship. So it's a fully funded scholarship.
Wow. How do you balance it? Because I know passion is one thing.
Yes,
Business is
a different.
Yeah, but for you, the business you're doing is impacting society. So ideally, you shouldn't be thinking about the money, but you still need the money to run the organizations. So how do you get that balance?
People assume when you say social impact and social entrepreneurship, it means it must come from a point of poverty. It's actually a business. We run it like a proper business. We pay taxes. We do all of that stuff.
Right.
Only that our common goal for us is empowerment first before profit. I'm seeing how products built in Africa are being used in a global market, without you having necessarily to move to that global market. Fortune favors the bold.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, classmates, karibuni sana to yet another concert for businessmen. That's what we call Becoming CEO. And I'm excited for our guest today, our lecturer for the day, and she has a story to tell. So I'm excited for us to learn about that. She's a powerhouse when it comes to tech matters, and she leads a company like none other, and I can't wait for us to meet her. Mumbi, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you, Phil. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man, thank you for coming through.
Yes.
We've been talking about this for a minute.
A really long time.
Umekuwa tu catch flights. It's okay. I love it. I love it.
Catch flights, not feelings.
Love it. Love it. You are on a very audacious journey. So it's 2050. That's about 25 years from now. We have over 1 million Africans who've been well trained and versed in software development. How does Africa look like in 2050 for you?
Wow. Hey, umeanza straight to the point. I love this. So 2050. So how I'm looking at it, first and foremost, I think Africa is different.
All right.
And by different, I mean we are on a path of digital transformation, not only for us, but for the whole world.
Okay.
And I'll explain why.
All right.
At the point we stand right now, Africa is the youngest continent in the world. Everyone is looking to Africa for the future workforce. But there's also a huge gap because as we look at it, yes, the numbers are high.
Yeah.
But the quality of people is very minimal. And what I mean by this is when it comes into especially the spaces of professionalism and especially in the tech space.
Right.
Because technology is very dynamic. It evolves really fast.
Right.
If you look at our education systems, we don't adapt fast enough.
Yeah.
To adapt to the changing technology.
Right.
So there's a huge gap in that.
Wow.
And what I'm trying to do in my position, the little I'm trying to give back to the community, to Africa, is to empower as many young people with technology skills as possible.
Right.
So by the time we're in 2050, we are operating like Singapore, where it takes me 9 minutes to go past immigration to get into the country.
Man, I saw that. That's
amazing.
amazing. That's amazing, yeah.
And I feel that this is a time for us to explore that possibility because I think technology is the greatest equalizer. Doesn't care about your race, doesn't care if you're a man or woman.
Right.
It's your skill. Your skill speaks for you. So this is the time for us to take this opportunity.
If you're wondering what Mumbi is talking about, she launched this huge project. And I remember hearing about it. I was like, oh, wow. Her plan is to train and develop over 1 million software developers in Africa. And the project is called the Power Learn Project.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Could you speak on that a bit?
Thank you. So just to take you back about 3 years ago. So 3 years ago, we were in the heart of a pandemic.
Yeah.
A lot of my friends are entrepreneurs, and I could see a lot of them were really struggling to find solutions to turn their businesses, to explore how they can digitize their businesses.
Right,
Because
right.
most of them were brick and mortar, which
Yeah.
is what we're used to.
Yeah.
If you sell clothes, you are selling them in person, in a
Right.
space where you interact with people. So there was a huge gap when everyone was trying quickly to pivot to technology, to use of technology, but they were not finding quality talent. And if they found it, it was very expensive.
Yeah.
So it already eats into your operational budget, you can sustain it.
Right.
And just looking back and wondering, what are some of the causes for this? When you speak to entrepreneurs, they tell you one is the skill set. So I'll set aside a budget. I know, say I have $1,500. I need someone to build me an app. But by the time we are done, or rather in halfway through building the app, you realize this person does not have the skill set you require.
Yeah.
So that means first you'll have to go back into your pocket to get more money, to get someone different, but also efficiency, because now you spent 3 months already. So most of your time is already used,
Yeah.
and you're running a business. You don't have the luxury of time.
Right.
So on the flip side, when you speak to the developers, they give you 3 reasons. One is education. They say there's a huge challenge because what they are learning in school, even in the best universities, is not what is being practiced in the market.
Right.
So that means they'll have to go to university, finish the 4 years, spend another 6 months to a year upskilling themselves with different programs,
Yeah.
so that they are market friendly and they can be hired. So what we decided to do at Powerland, we decided to create a solution for that, which was innovating around education. During the pandemic, we really suffered. And genuinely, I think, like for my country, Kenya, I don't think we're still back to normal when it comes to education.
No.
Because a lot of the education institutions had not adapted to online learning.
That's true.
So a lot of children, I feel like we're going to lose a whole generation because we were not prepared for it.
Yeah.
And that's where the inspiration for Powerland came from. Why don't we innovate around education, create solutions where, yes, I don't have to spend 4 years in a class. I can learn something in 6 months, and in the 7th month, I'm working and I'm earning money. Where the world is going right now, that's the kind of skill and talent that's required.
That is true.
Yes. So when we look at the technology space in Africa, when we did our research, we had only about 800,000 or so quality software developers
Right.
in a continent of over 2 billion.
That is wrong.
It's very sad.
Yeah.
So the whole concept of the 1 million developers for Africa, from my perspective, was assuming even each one of them goes into a different industry that requires technology
Yeah.
with the skills they already have. So here we are teaching teachers. So out of their million, 100,000 of them become teachers of other young people.
And they teach another million.
Exactly. And they teach another million,
Right.
and we continue with that journey. So if I look at it from that perspective, that small effect of training 1 million, the ripple effect is going to be the change of this continent. And we're already seeing it with what we're doing at Powerland. So just to briefly explain how it works. So we designed a program where we train on basic software development. At the core of most technology, you require programmers and coders.
Right.
So we decided, why don't we create this flurry number of coders and developers, and then we can provide them with skills on how they can go into different industries, whether it's medicine, whether it's healthcare, whether it's law, whether it's all these spaces.
Right.
And the beauty of it, because we also realized there was a huge challenge when it comes to the cost of education, we decided for the first 1 million, we're going to do it in form of a scholarship.
Wow.
So it's a fully funded scholarship.
Wow.
Together with our different partners, we work and make sure we subsidize the cost of learning. So we pick we run a cohort. So we pick about 10,000 people per cohort. And I remember when initially we started Powerland, this was around November 2021. Everyone thought we were insane. We were right out of the heart of a pandemic.
Yeah.
What do you mean you're going to start a whole new organization? For my own journey especially, it was people thought I was going mad because I previously in my former life, I worked in the development space. I had a very good job at the World Bank. People are wondering why you leave in the World Bank to go to uncertainty in the heart of a pandemic. You know? So it didn't make sense to a lot of people.
Right.
And there's cause for us to think like that. But I think the opportunity was greater than what everyone was envisioning. And sometimes in life, it's what people say, entrepreneurs sometimes look like they're mad people, you know,
That's true.
because you're very, very adamant and passionate about what you want to do.
That is
Because
true.
only you can see what opportunity lies there
Yeah.
and how you're going to get to the end of it. So 2022 April, we launched our first cohort. So we only first piloted it in Kenya. So we did our first launch of 1,000 young people. We gave a scholarship to 1,000 young people.
Wow.
And we trained them over a period of 4-6 months.
Right.
And by the time we were done in December, when we were graduating, we were able to graduate about 800 of them. If you see a lot of online programs, their retention rate is very low. So you start the program with 100,000 people or
Right.
10,000 people, you'll probably just graduate 200, 300.
Right.
Because the commitment is very low.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that we were able to figure out at Powerland, because what we did is ideally we didn't change the system too much. So it's just a flipped classroom. So it's just online.
Yeah.
But we built a very strong, robust community of young people where you can get to learn from each other.
Right.
And then you're supported by instructors and other leaders in the technology field. So learning becomes fun. So you don't feel the need to drop out because it's not a chore.
Yeah.
Because that's the other problem with education. I think we've structured our education in a way that it seems like it's a chore.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm going to school. I feel like
Right.
I'm tired. So we make our learning fun. So we graduated about 800. Out of the 800, about 63% of them have gotten opportunities for work already.
Wow. It's amazing.
So this also speaks to the level of quality of the education that we're providing, which was the challenge we were trying to fix in the first place.
Right.
So that means you come to our pool of talent, you need a front-end developer, you need a UI UX designer. It's very easy for you to find someone you can work with immediately.
Right.
Which was a lot of things that a lot of companies were really struggling with. Just to give you an example, when Microsoft was setting up in Kenya, they had to go and take developers from everyone. So many corporate institutions were really struggling. They went to one and took about 400 of them in one company. That can destabilize a lot of people.
For sure.
But the beauty of it, how I look at it, is that now those institutions realize they have to invest in training people because you just can't keep stealing people from one place to another.
Oh, yeah.
Yet the demand is growing every day. So that's not a solution.
Right.
So it created a huge conversation around what do we do in terms of investment for skilling young people so they can use these skills back in their organizations.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I mean, I'm just trying to, because that's like I've kept saying, what you're doing is amazing. It takes guts. It's so audacious.
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to figure out the person that goes for such a project, because that's a massive project.
Yeah.
And I want to understand Mumbi from
Yes.
the earliest years, like what makes you who you are, what makes you tick, what makes your DNA. So let's go from your earliest memory. How did
Yeah.
you grow up? What was the setup like at home? Was it
Yeah.
entrepreneurial?
Yeah.
Were you given that latitude of whatever you want, go for it? What was it like for you?
All right. So Mumbi, born and brought up in Nairobi. But my formative years, I grew up in Mombasa. I grew up in Diani.
Allah?
So my parents worked in the hospitality space. So my
Right.
dad was a chef, and my mom worked in operations. And so I grew up next to the beach, which is so ironic because I don't know how to swim, Phil.
Watch out.
Like, let me tell you, I'm not lying to you. And I'm
you
really-
grew up next to, to the
Really?
ocean.
And it's something of assuming you're going to have that ocean there every day. So I keep postponing. I'm going to learn tomorrow. So, I mean, 30-something years later, I'm just like, guys, I don't know how to swim. If there was a flood, I'm done. I just sit there and then I say my prayers.
Wow.
So I grew up there. I grew up in a small family. I only have one sister.
Right.
Who's older than me. I went to school in Diani for the most part. I think my primary school really contributed a lot in my formative years.
Okay.
Because so it was led by this gentleman who had just come back from the States. So he was very exposed with like early childhood education.
Right.
And his main focus was not only on books, but also like seeing the extracurricular.
Right.
So if you see a lot of the people who went to that school now, you'd see like they think very differently. Like, yes, they're very smart, but they're also very analytical. You know, they're very fun. They're very creative, and I really appreciate that. So my class 1 teacher, who I think is the first person who ever believed in me, even before my parents, and I'll explain.
Okay.
So since I was a child, I've always been a very, very, very curious person.
Okay.
And you know, in African context, curiosity is usually tied to being naughty.
Oh yeah.
So, you know, you're like that, wanaitanga kierere.
Kabisa.
Like uko na kierere mingi sana, so they're like, hey, huyo ogopa huyo mpaka angaliwe kila saa, huyo mpaka, you know.
Yeah.
But interestingly, my class 1 teacher was very, and her name is Mrs. Onsinio. I just want to big up to her in case she sees this.
Okay, that's amazing.
So, she was very, she like saw something in me around, you know, that curiosity and where it could lead if it was directed in the right way.
Right.
So she'd always put me in positions where, you know, either I become class prefect, you know, so they try and make you a leader so you don't go the other way.
That's true.
If we're doing team things within the school, within the class, you know, she'll make you the leader. She's like, okay, you're the one who's going to give me the report at the end of the day and things like that.
Yeah.
So in a sense, it started creating that sense of leadership within me. But at the time, I didn't know what it was. I just assuming, okay, maybe, you know, I've been told I am so naughty, so much. So I'm assuming, okay, maybe this is an opportunity for me to prove otherwise.
Right.
And I remember even my mom telling me one time, I think sometime I was getting an award for something I did with the Powerland just recently. She was like, you know, there's something that Mrs. Onsinio saw in you, and she told me, and all of us could not understand what it was at that time.
Wow.
Yeah. So she was like, yeah, I mean, all of us didn't understand. It's like there's something she saw. And I guess it's like the talent or the gift that God gives, you know, your teachers and things like that.
Right.
So, yeah, so I went to school at it's called Word of Life Christian Academy. I went to school there for about for 5 years. And then my parents decided it's time to relocate and come back to the city.
Right.
So what that meant for me, it was time to go to boarding school. So nilitolewa Diani, and then I was taken to a school in Nyeri.
That contrast,
Let
the
me
weather.
tell you, culture shock in its essence, kabisa.
Yo.
You know, from the weather. And then, you know, at this time I'm speaking Swahili, atuliza boli, unajua? And then on this other side, guys don't understand what's happening.
Ni ara na ero.
It was a very, now thinking of it now, it was a very like, extreme experience for me.
Right.
But I think in a way it also like molded me a lot. So I became very resilient at a very young age. So I went to boarding school, finished my class 8. And then, so I always had this dream to go to a national school. So I've always been kind of a smarty pants since I was young. So I just assumed, I mean, you know, it's definite. So I want to go to Alliance. I want to go to Kenya High. Dude, you know, I missed going to Alliance with like 3 points. Let me tell you, I cried. You know, my parents are happy. You know, you've already, it's not that you failed.
Yeah.
But according to my standard, I didn't meet what I wanted to do.
Right.
And later on in life, I came to realize it's an attribute of myself that I had since early on, but I came to learn about it later on in life.
Right.
And I think that happens to most of us.
Oh, yeah.
So I went to high school again in Nyeri for I think the formative years. Again, back to, you know, you are very naughty, you need to be sent to a different school.
Right.
So I had to move my high school to a school that kind of understood what kind of person I am, or rather understood the other elements beyond just the education that I feel were in me and needed to be explored as well. So I finished high school, went and joined Daystar University, did my undergrad there in communications and public relations.
Yeah.
And by my second year, I was already tired of school. So I was thinking, so what else can I, you know, where can I go and do some actual work?
Right.
So within this time is when me and a couple of my friends from church at the time. So I used to go to Mavuno when it was still in South Sea.
Yeah.
So me and a couple of friends had come together and we were very concerned at the state of street families on the roads in Nairobi.
Right.
So, because I used to be in school in Daystar at the river. So when I'm going home, I pass through maybe CBD, then to get a car to go home. So I'd always see like groups of families, like of street families on the road. And, I kept asking my friends, what's the reason behind this? So we decided to go on an expedition. And this expedition was led by my really good friend. His name is Brian Muremi. So together, he put together like a group of street families. So we went and talked to them.
Right.
Trying to figure out why you're here, what is the reason why you're on the streets, and then how can we fix it. So the first meeting we went for was very nice. So of course they are a bit abrasive, they don't know what exactly are your intentions.
Right.
So to like ease them up, we went to Nakumat Lifestyle at the time. Alafu tukanua mkate, maziwa, and then now we went with that.
Right.
So after we talked to them, we gave them some, like we broke bread together. So it kind of like warmed them up to us.
Right.
And some of the reasons they were giving for me were reasons that could affect any of us at one point in life. Like today you have a job, tomorrow you don't have a job.
That's true.
You're running a business, tomorrow the business is shut down because you don't have capacity to run it. So, and some other core reasons, of course, like domestic violence, so some of them were running away from that.
Yeah.
So I sat down with my friends, then we decided we're going to create a solution for this. And that's where Love Light 58 came from. And a lot of people ask me, what does the 58 mean in Love Light 58? And it's actually based off of Isaiah 58.
Okay.
And basically, it's where the Bible says that, when you go out and help people, you don't have to be very loud about it. Which is a huge problem I see in today's philanthropy. You go, you support someone. I think the era of social media has really corrupted that because I want to document everything I've done. And, even if it's coming from a point of good intention, I think that we are being carried away by all the wrong reasons. Anyway, so Love Light 58 started. So we used to gather together, a couple of friends from campus, from church. So every Friday. So the whole week, we'd save like a pocket money ile umepewa for the week. Then on Fridays, we'd leave school at around noon. Sayo nimetoka huko Athi huko Bundus kabisa huko kwa Vumbi. And then I come to Nairobi, meet my friends. Then we go to Nakumat. We go buy milk and bread. And then we go. There was an alley just between Nakumat Lifestyle and this Pizza Inn. There used to be an alley.
Yeah.
So we used to meet there.
Right.
So every Friday evening, we spend time with the street families. So for us, we were doing research because we genuinely wanted to help them. And it grew into, I think, because now that's about the time Twitter was really picking up in Kenya.
Okay.
So when we finished the sessions, we'd go and post and say, oh, today we had this number of people. Maybe we had 100 people. We were not able to feed all of them, but they were able to share with each other, things like that. And this is some of the research we found out. These are some of the leading causes of what's happening. So when Twitter was starting out in Kenya, the people so if you go on Twitter and then you see like Bob Collymore, it was actually him who was tweeting. Hiyo time bado hawako ameanza kutwitiwa na maPA na manini.
Hakuwa na managers.
Hakuwa na managers. It was still very novel. It was still very clean. And I remember interacting with this lady. At the time, she used to run the biggest PR agency in this country. Her name is Jinadine Kariuki.
Yeah.
So she used to just follow what we were doing every day, and then she'd comment. It's like, hey, kudos, keep up the good job, things like that. So every day. And then I think she was watching our growth because by the 6th, 7th month, we would be a team of like 20. And then we would almost have like almost 400 street people.
Wow.
In one night.
Wow.
So I'll give you context now. Even now in Nairobi, when you're walking in town, and then you see one street person following you, all the wrong connotations go in your head because you're thinking, amekuja kuchukua simu.
Yes.
Something like that. So imagine having 400 of them in one space.
In one space around.
It was very scary for a lot of people who didn't understand what we were doing. So I remember this one day, we went to Nakumat to buy now for the next session. It was about 7 months later. And then when we were at the entrance of Nakumat, the manager at the time of Nakumat Lifestyle came to me. Or rather came to us as a team. And then he was like, so I've been seeing you guys here every Friday buying milk and bread. What are you guys doing? So at the time we're really young we don't know if we're doing anything wrong,
Yeah.
or they're assuming we're doing something wrong. So we're all quite scared. So I remember we took him aside and then we explained to him. So we usually buy, and then this is where we take it. So he was very interested to see what's happening. So he joined us for that day.
Right.
He was so inspired that by that evening when he was leaving, he told us that every Friday when we come and buy, whatever we buy, he'll match it as Nakumat, as their CSR. So if you come with 2,000, you leave with 4,000, goods worth 4,000 shillings. And for us, I think that was my first point of interaction with like social entrepreneurship in a sense. So he came on board. And then I think with that now, when we went on Twitter and said that now other people were interested in supporting us as well.
Right.
Key in point, Jinadine, she was very interested in knowing who is this person, what is this that drives you, and things like that. Coincidentally, in school, I was also learning PR. So this, for me, was an opportune moment, you know? Just being smart.
Amejianika tu hapa.
Unajua, ako tu hapa, why not take the opportunity?
Right.
So I got an opportunity to intern at Janadine at the time when, they were building M-Pesa and all these things.
Right.
So you were literally in the heart of all the excitement, in the heart of, and Gina has been very instrumental in building a lot of people in this country in very different spaces. So I'm extremely lucky to be one of them. So I got to start doing my internship, which didn't mean that we stopped doing this other side. So we continued doing it. It's really continued to grow. So I remember December when we were about to do the last one before the end of the year. So we did our usual, went to Nakumat, bought the things. When we came, there were very few people this time around, which for me was ironic because I was anticipating a huge number because of the festivities. So when we were just asking around, some of the people who were there already, some of the street families who were there, were saying that the government had come to threaten them. That if they meet there, if they come and they meet us there, they'll get in trouble. And they blamed it on the business owners. So they said these other guys who were on the building on this side were saying that we were affecting their businesses. So we were like, okay, but we have all the right, because we went through the whole process. We had all the right documentation, those social security cards at the time that could show like you do this for, it's a job you do. So we got to the alley, and then there were some city council people there at the time. So at this time, we had not started county governments yet. It was still the time for the mayorship. So this guy comes and then he's like, I don't want to see you guys here. We've received so many complaints. You're bringing security to this place and things like that. So at the time, we are young and we are passionate.
Yeah.
And we don't know how to work with government as yet because we've never had an interaction with government.
Right.
Sasa sisi ni nani with our passion? Si tunaanza kujibishana na wao. Next thing you know, tumewekwa kwa Mariamu. Wewe. That was my first experience. Well, I don't know, hiyo Kanjo inaitangwa nini? Sijui kama hiyo inaitwa Mariamu pia.
Twende tu na Mariamu.
Yeah, so we were put in that car.
Right.
It's a Friday. So they are on a roll because they are going around collecting everyone. On Koinange Street, they are collecting prostitutes. They're, everywhere.
Yeah.
So it got to about 8, and these guys were like, you guys are doing this thing so you can get money. You're just coming here to take pictures, and then you send them abroad and ask people for money, and then it never comes to help these people.
Right.
Like, there was so much like negative energy towards what we were doing, to a point we were actually doubting ourselves. Like, kwani we are doing something wrong.
Yeah.
So we went around for about 2 hours. And then my friends now started talking to me and telling me, why don't you just reach out to your boss? She's like the most connected human in this world.
Yeah.
But at this time, one of them was tweeting like what was happening to us.
Right.
So guys on Twitter were like, are you guys okay?
Yeah.
Are you, So it got to a point where I was like, okay, now it's almost 9. My parents need to know where I am because,
That's true.
I'm still in university. I'm still a young person. I'm going home.
Right.
So they need to know where I am. So I just decided to text.
Right.
I just sent a text and said, this is the situation we're in. Is there any way we could receive some assistance? Dude, hata haikuchukua dakika 10. So I think at the time, I called someone They called the mayor at the time, and then I think the mayor just made sure the information got to
the
askaris.
Right.
Hey, so now suddenly they become very friendly. It's like, hey, mbona mkutuambia nyinyi mko na boss, sijui nini, hey, kazi mzuri mnafanya, mbona mkutuambia nini. So they went and threw us somewhere huko fire station, and then they were like, oh, poleni, ama mtaka tuwapeleke nyumbani. Me, I'm like, no, just release me, I need to go. And I remember when I lighted the vehicle, one askari was like, sawa, so muende, lakini nisiwahi waona town tena. Like that, those were his final remarks. He's like, tutawapata, mahali mtakuwa tu tutawapata. So yes, I was happy we were released, but I was really heartbroken because I knew how much work we had put into this, and we were already making like a difference, because like some of I remember one lady that was supported by the group, she was given some cash, so we helped her get an ID, open a bank account, and then we got her some cash to like start selling. So when you go to the like Jamia, you can see some women up selling like mabuyus and things like that. Yeah, so we were able to empower her that way. So she was able to cater for her kids.
Right.
And that was our goal generally. But because you don't see the vision, most times people don't relate to it.
That's true.
Yeah.
That is true.
So we went home, gave my mother this ordeal. And she was like, okay, hiyo ni kama sasa mtaacha kufanya, because you want to protect your child.
Of course.
But there's something still in me especially that was like, apana, I can't let these guys just win like that. Because I knew what impact we were trying to make.
Yeah.
So as I said, I was studying communications, and I knew one of the strongest forms of passing information is through the media.
Yeah.
So I decided now to embark on this other journey where I would give people like myself opportunity to come and share their story to build their credibility, so they don't have to go through things like what I went through. And this was also partly because I tried reaching out to some TV stations, and they were all like, okay, so what's in it for us? Or are you going to pay us to air the story? Or things like that.
Yeah.
So luckily, again, through our networks, I was connected to another very popular journalist at the time, who was also very passionate about impacting people's lives and giving a different angle to news stories. So we sat down, I told her what the case was. And I remember she was very inspired, but she had one question back to me. And she was like, you're lucky because you have access.
Yeah.
You have access, you have opportunity.
Right.
That's why you can come and sit with me and I can air your story. But what happens to someone like you who's doing a similar thing in some remote place who does not have access and opportunity?
Right.
What happens to them? And it really got me thinking a lot. And I would have taken that opportunity and gone with it because it was my time to shine.
Right.
But this thing really bugged me because I remember going home and sitting and wondering, what can I do to fix that problem?
Right.
The problem of access and the problem of opportunity. Right. And that now inspired my next startup, which was now Ibua Africa.
Okay.
Which was solely focused, it was a media startup. It was solely focused on highlighting the underdogs. It was solely focused on, supporting with crowdfunding. So now I was using my skill set that I learned in school to actually run a proper business, but also inspire and impact people's lives.
Right.
And that's how Ibua Africa was born.
Wow. Have so many threads to pull at. So many. So I'm just trying to figure out which one to go with. But still at Ibua Africa, and now you're doing all these socioeconomic projects, and that has become your entrepreneurship journey.
Yes.
I'm just curious how do you balance it? Because I know passion is one thing.
Yes.
Business is
a different
thing. Yeah, but for you, the business you're doing is impacting society. So ideally, you shouldn't be thinking about the money, but you still need the money to run the organizations. So how do you get that balance?
So that's a good question. So I think people assume when you say social impact and social entrepreneurship, it means it must come from a point of poverty. And I think that is really heavily influenced by also the corporate culture. So like I genuinely don't believe in like corporate social responsibility, because I feel like that's your way of, I feel like it's very vain in the sense of it's me coming to validate that I can still be a good person. You
Yeah.
get? It's not in your DNA.
Oh, plus they're running away from taxes.
Exactly. I
So-
didn't want to say that, but yeah. So
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So the thing is, if you see how perhaps the Western world views social entrepreneurship, it's extremely different. If you see how someone like Unilever views corporate social impact, social entrepreneurship, it's very different.
Okay.
And for me, I think when I realized there was that gap because of that mentality, of course, I went back to school. I went to Strathmore. I did a course on social entrepreneurship in collaboration with the University from Canada. And I got to learn the other different angles to it. And partly, I think that's what has been able to allow us to grow. So, because for me, social impact is not branding. It's not vain. It's not me trying to evade taxes. It's not, it's part of our DNA. It's our core business.
Okay.
So, if I'm working to skill, say, 1 million people,
Right.
I need to give value to 10 partners who will all support me to train the 1 million people.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So in a sense, I already fit into your business and what you want to do. I'll give you a good example. We're currently doing a program with Safaricom. They have a program called Safaricom Hook where they're trying to see how they can, build the next generation or empower the next generation of young people.
Right.
And I think my selling point to them was that I have this extremely good product that can allow you to change someone's life and the community around them.
Right.
So what I'm getting back at is, I think the way we've packaged social impact, it's that it's always about just giving and how I make you feel. We don't look at it from the perspective of, it's actually a product. Like I have a product that I sell to people.
Right.
That in the long run, my output is that it provides a lot of impact for societies and communities.
Right.
So ideally, that's how I look at it, how I look at social entrepreneurship. So it does not necessarily align to, okay, so yes, I'm passionate and it's just about impact. It's actually a business. We run it like a proper business. We pay taxes. We do all of that stuff.
Right.
Only that our common goal for us is empowerment first before profit.
Okay. Empowerment first before profit.
Yes.
It's something you touched on just when you were giving us your journey a
Yes.
couple of times.
Yes.
And the word we use upper home ni kiherere. And you said there were many, I'm trying to remember the word used. It's okay. But there were many aspects to you that people didn't understand. And so we just generalized. Mtoto ako na kierere. And that happens to a lot of us. And I say us for coming from the artist community.
Yes.
A lot of us are misunderstood. And so we can't really sit and settle down for, for quite a long time. At this point, can you articulate what it is that was in you that people didn't understand? Yeah.
So I like that point because just recently I was having a family gathering and then I remember one of my cousins saying, okay, now we see where that kierehere was going. You get? Now they see it. Now they see. Now they see it.
Yeah.
And genuinely, I think it's just the desire. It was a burning desire just to be different, not to settle for, because you're told this is the path you have to take, so this is how you go. Or because everyone is doing it, so you also align to it. So actually, one of the key things I always thank God for is that I have never actually been one to succumb to peer pressure since I was young. I won't do it because Phil is doing it. It's just a thing in me.
Yeah.
Which, in the flip side is, you then become the source of the peer pressure.
Right.
Because now the guys are like, okay, if this one is not being moved like this, it must look like she knows what she's doing.
So she's the cool one.
So you're the cool one, so you're the one people are looking up to.
Yeah.
Which also brings a lot of heaviness in a sense, because people really look up to you.
Yeah.
even in the smallest things, in how you dress, in how you eat, in how you carry yourself. I was just talking to my team the other day, and telling them the way I don't like, don't send me an email if you have spelling mistakes and things like that.
Right.
And I remember one of them was like, yeah, I spent 3 years with Mumbi. Now, even you, when you send me an email with bad, with like grammatical error, I'm also in that space. I'm like, please, I don't want this.
Right.
So I think without even your knowledge and intention, you end up also influencing other people.
Right.
And I think it took me a long time to actually sit with it and realize that you're actually a source of influence.
Right.
So now how you behave around people, how you carry yourself, how you talk, how you think, like it really just pushes you to go out of the ordinary and become a whole different person. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So the other word they use is an outlier.
Thank you. That's actually one of my favorite books.
Oh, I love it. Malcolm Gladwell.
Yes.
I love it.
Yes.
Love it.
Yeah.
You have won so many accolades. There's constantly a spotlight shining on you wherever you walk.
Yeah.
You are even a UN advisor
Yeah.
on entrepreneurship. What is that? What does that mean? So the UN does not know what needs to be done, so they call you to advise them.
I'll get in trouble if I answer that. So ideally, this is one of my key roles. And I think it started a long time ago. It actually started when I was still with Igbo Africa.
Right.
And it was heavily because the work that I was doing was heavily influencing decisions around unemployment. I was around a lot of young people and entrepreneurs a lot. So I knew like what are some of their challenges. And I could hear what were some of the perspectives from them that could assist in, empowering them and taking them to the next level. So ideally what it entails is, you have sessions where you sit with people making policies, you sit with, the heads of the different parts of the United Nations and just talking to them about, this is what's happening on the ground, because that's our core business. We're on the ground. We're working with young people every day. This is some of the sentiment that's there. I think these are some of the approaches that we've used in our businesses that are working. And I think you should adapt them as well. Or how do we scale the impact? Because ideally, the United Nations is there to act as, it's like they create cooperations between people, between organizations, between countries, and help you to scale the impact. If it's hunger, that's why we have the SDGs in the first place. So they're spearheading change at a global level, but they require local action and local contribution for them to get to that level.
Absolutely.
So in my capacity, especially now with Powerland and what we're doing, because our main focus is championing for how young people can leverage the digital economy for their own livelihoods.
Right.
The digital economy is very wide. It's in the creative sector, it's in healthcare, it's in all these other different aspects. So they can't have all these experts sit in that UN building in Bigiri.
That is true.
So that's why they consult with external parties who are also experts in their different fields, and then they come and sit in and talk about different things.
Right.
Yeah.
So was this part of the reason you were in New York recently?
So yes. So I had the opportunity to attend the General Assembly this year. Yeah. And the beauty of life sometimes, I think there's a story I didn't tell you about one of my school pathways. So I think when I finished when I was just doing Ebola, just about to finish. Actually, Ebola Africa is what got me to the World Bank because we were very, very inspired by what we were doing with young people, and they were looking for ways to engage with young people.
Right.
And then the beauty of it is that I had gone to school, so I had a certain skill set they could use. And when I think during the COVID pandemic, because I had worked there for quite a long time, I needed a change.
Right.
And so I had two options. It was either to leave and go to school and then come back and continue working,
right,
or to quit. It was one of the two.
Yeah.
So of course, you go with the easier one first. So I applied to school. I've always wanted to go to Oxford University.
Right.
So I applied to their business school. I wanted to go and pursue, of course, a degree in business. And it's not an easy school to get into.
Yeah.
But I think more than that, it's not a cheap school to get into.
Oh, yes.
Hey, that one. You'll
Yeah.
sell land and everything in between.
Yeah, one kidney and then two song.
Kabisa. So I applied to Oxford. Luckily, I got in, and I'm guessing heavily because of my professional background.
Right.
And then now it was time to wait for the scholarship to come. So I waited and waited and waited. Yeah. And then unfortunately, I was not qualified for that particular scholarship.
Oh, no.
And this put me in a serious turmoil, because I was like, okay, so I was, the way you had already envisioned your life.
Yeah.
Like, okay, yeah, if I got into the school, I mean, chances of me getting I'm sorted.
I'm sorted for life.
So I'm even telling guys the way me I'm moving to London, guys. Kwaherini.
Kwaherini.
Hey, tuonane. Hey. So I mean, if we, what is it called? Not throwback, like move it forward.
Yeah.
3 years later,
Right.
early this year in January, I get an invitation from Oxford University.
Wow.
And they're like, we've been seeing what you're doing with skilling young people in Africa. Would like you to come and talk about it.
Wow. Look at that.
I'm like, what kind of validation is that even? You know?
Amazing, yeah.
And I think with my journey at Powerland, the 3 years have not been easy. I haven't even told you half of it. It's been a crazy journey of madness.
Talk to us about Powerland. Wait. Because every time we meet and I ask you, how is it going, your words are usually, where?
I know. It's like we operate on 1,000 words per minute. It's like, wait, 1,000 times a minute.
Okay, that's a new one.
So,
1,000 where per minute?
yes. So,
Okay.
So I think I've really gone through. I keep saying like that's the best MBA I have received in life. Just starting that journey of our Powerland project to where it is now. Just to give you some tidbits up and pale. Today you wake up, unapata. I mean, we have our own learning platform where we train people on. Tomorrow you wake up, unapata someone hacked your domain. So that time you're training 10,000 people at once. So you're trying to figure out what corner of where is this coming from? How do we fix it?
Right.
You wake up another day, you were working with a partner, they decide, you have too much money and you're too young, so let me show you how to use this money on your behalf. Dude, let me tell you, character development with a capital K, not even a C. But if you look back at all the stories I've told you, a lot of the attributes and values that were, I could see when I was young and I didn't understand what they were, have really come to pass for me in the past like 3-4 years.
Right.
Building Powerland project.
Yeah.
Whether it's the resilience, because now, like in a situation like that, I had to be in a space where I'm accountable to my stakeholders,
Right.
the people who give me the money.
Right.
I'm accountable to my team. I have a team of over 60 people from across Africa. What am I telling them?
Yeah.
I'm accountable to myself, because if anything happens and it looks like you are in cahoots with this guy,
Yeah.
I'm a young person. I never have the opportunity to work anywhere again in life.
true.
Like my life is literally over.
Yeah.
Like it was one of the scariest moments of my life, but also the most defining one when it comes to my leadership journey. All the lessons of integrity that I got from my mom since I was a young child. Kuanzia ile kuiba sukari.
Yeah.
Unaambiwa hiyo si kazi mzuri.
Yeah.
To where we are now, they came to play. Because if in any sense I was not a firm believer in integrity, we would not be sitting here and talking right now.
That's true.
I can promise you. If I was not a resilient person, that would have broken me. We would not be here talking about this right now.
Right.
So there's in many ways, and I'm telling you, we can sit here and talk the whole day. I have so many stories I can tell you. But I think bottom line of it is like this journey has shaped me into someone I didn't know I could be. You know, the way you look back at yourself, you're just telling me now you saw some videos of me from 9 years ago. I can promise you that's not the same person you're seeing right here in very many ways, except the hairstyle. In very many other ways.
Yeah.
And I think the beauty of believing in yourself also really matters.
Right.
Because if I didn't believe in myself first, there's no possible way other people would believe in me.
Right.
So there's so many lessons from my journey in this field have really impacted. Anyway, back to the UN thing. So where we are right now globally, one of the biggest, like I mentioned before, everyone is looking to Africa for the future workforce.
Right.
If you look at the other countries, like especially in the Nordic side, like Austria, for example,
Right.
Italy, like right now, they are really struggling with labor because a lot of their people are not young.
Yeah.
So everyone is looking to Africa. So how do we fix this now?
Wow.
And I think going back to what I said before, we saw the opportunity. So we're like, invest in these young people so you can skill them. And with that, I got the opportunity now to attend the General Assembly, because one of the key things that they were doing this year is reviewing the SDGs. Because after the pandemic, it's like we all went back to zero.
Oh, yeah.
We all went back to zero, whether it's healthcare, whether it's education, whether it's... So we had to sit down and reframe how we are going to like create impact using and bring change.
Absolutely.
So one of the key roles I was doing, of course, there I was going to talk to other partners. Of course, fundraising is a huge part of my work. It's actually like 70% of my work.
Right.
I'll probably use this video to fundraise. Who knows?
You need to teach me how you do that. Itabidi unifunze how you do that.
Nione kando.
Nikuone kando.
So we can exchange values, actually.
Yeah.
I can teach you fundraising, you teach me storytelling. Because I think one of the things we really struggle with at Powerland is telling our story, because we're so engrossed in doing the work, we don't remember to tell the stories unless I come and sit here.
I nowadays, any room I walk into, yesterday I think yesterday or day before yesterday, I was in a room full of CEOs, and I told them, right now, the most important department in your company is the storytelling department. Yeah, you could have the best product, the best company, the best strategy, but if you can't tell your story.
Exactly.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. So so we can exchange after this.
Absolutely.
So I did a lot of that, and let me tell you the truth. I was in some rooms. I remember there's one meeting I went for, and the title of the meeting was "The Next 3 Billion." Yeah. And, at first I was like, okay, maybe it's just one of those meetings. And then I entered that room, and I can promise you for a fact, I think 5 of those people in that room were genuinely the next 3 billion. Like, they had 3 billion. Like, if you told them, give me, they would give you, from Dangote to the CEO of Verizon to, the president of Microsoft to, like, it was an amazing space to be in.
Yeah.
And the one rhetoric that was in that room, Phil, was, it's now time to put all eyes on Africa. All of them were saying that.
I love it.
I love
it.
And we've been saying this for the longest time, but people don't want to listen to us. But now, because there's a huge shortage when it comes to labor force and workforce, now they're looking at us. But me, I look at it as a benefit, because now I can have a seat at the table and I can have my demands listened to.
Oh, yeah.
So
absolutely.
I am literally playing at what I can call the peers field. So we're peers now. So you need me and I need you.
That's true.
So how do we work from a fair advantage?
Right. Man, I think we can have this conversation for hours and hours, because, that's something I'm learning at the moment, and which is to see my business not just for the local market, but on a global perspective. And you seem to be very comfortable with the global perspective, the global conversation.
Yeah.
Teach me how I can start seeing my business and my hustle on a global scale. And just for you, the world is indeed a village.
Yep.
In the world and the space that you work in.
Yes.
And so for me, with my business, hapa hivi downtown Nairobi,
yes,
how do I start seeing my small business as a global business? How does tech fit into it? And then there's this new big word we are hearing all over, AI. How does it fit into that?
Yeah. So I really like that question, because I think at the beginning I said, like, for me, tech is an equalizer.
Right.
And how I look at it is, and even when we were designing our product, the what we're training at Powerland, one of the key things we always advise the young people to do is to start building for a global market.
Right.
So going back to your question, so first and foremost, you can leverage technology, but you need the skill.
That's true.
So you either go to school and learn, or you find people around you who have the adequate skills to help you scale.
Yeah.
The second thing is about product, how you build your product. It has, first of all, it has to be extremely user-centric. So my vision, like you said, 2050, I'm seeing how products built in Africa are being used in a global market without you having necessarily to move to that global market. Because that means the money will come back here, the investments will be made here,
Right.
the economy will grow here. Because our biggest challenge right now is, yes, I'm an excellent software developer. I work for you in Germany. I have worked for you in Dublin. I have worked for you, But why can't we be able to create infrastructure and systems where we can build products? So you're selling that this kitenge jackets from here in Nairobi, and someone can have access to it in
Dublin.
Exactly. And you can pay me in whatever currency I want. You don't have to limit me to pay me in dollars.
Right.
You can pay because we've created payment gateways that work for us. So one of the young guys in my program, and this is a very interesting story because this young man was in law school. His folks could not afford paying for school fees. He had to drop out.
Yeah.
Then he came across our program and enrolled for it. By the time he was finishing the program, he realized there was a gap when it comes to like a payment gateway.
Right.
And I'll explain this. Most people who use PayPal can tell you there are a lot of restrictions for Africa with PayPal.
I'm one of them.
Exactly.
Wait,
So I need you to switch you to this new platform. Anyway.
Please.
So, so you realize there are a lot of gaps. That's how you know some of these things were not made for us, for our consumption.
That's true.
And so this young man got together with some other young people within our program, and they built a new payment gateway called Paid. And their goal is to make sure that this system is built for Africa, works for Africans.
Wow.
So at this particular time, which is like about a year and a half after they built it, they are doing revenues of over, I think, almost 50 million a month.
Wow.
This is a young guy. He's not even 25.
Wow.
This is a young guy who could not afford school fees. His folks could not afford school fees.
Wow.
Just because they got those skills in 4 months, they're making this kind of difference.
Right.
So there's very many ways we can leverage technology
Yeah.
within our businesses, and then technology is for everyone. So you don't say because you work in River Road ama sijui wapi.
Niko na nini ya hardware. Sasa
Ndio, sasa tech na hardware inaingiana hapo aje. Inaingia kila mahali. It helps with your stock taking. It helps making it efficient. It helps with deliveries ban. Yeah?
Okay.
Ingia Glovo uzie watu manyundo. Kwani?
But there's
Hey. Mbona Glovo watu why are we not getting nini? Exactly. Unauza simiti, ingia uuze simiti. Just make sure your logistics are fine.
Right.
It's so seamless that if I'm building and I want 10 bags of cement, I can have it delivered to me.
Wow. I know it's right there.
Exactly my point.
But I just think of food when I think of...
Exactly. But it's because people have made like technology this very big monster that people don't understand how it affects us in one way or another. Right. It's your day-to-day life. It's the little things you do.
Right.
And going to the conversation on AI, and I get this question all the time. And I keep telling people, first, everything used in moderation is fine.
You're right.
The problem is when we use it too much.
Absolutely.
So I think for me, of course, I'm pro-AI. Because, and maybe this comes from a bias because I'm in that space, so I've understood what the value it brings and also what could be the challenges, which I understand not many people have.
Yeah.
But if I give you like big picture of AI, especially for Africa, right now the generation that perhaps maybe not me, maybe Gen Z and below, those guys are digital natives. It's like they were born kama wamepewa simu na.
I see my daughter operating the phone. I'm like, how do you know that?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they were born into AI in a sense.
Right.
And I remember I was in a meeting sometime early this year, I think around June. I was in a roundtable, the president of Microsoft. And the one thing I told him was,
Mumbi,
this is
name dropping.
Name dropping zote. Amen.
Tuendele, hallelujah. Tuendele. Yeah.
And I remember the one key conversation around AI was, and what we were telling them, this generation is the digital natives. This is their first interaction with technology is AI.
Wow.
So if we want to fix the problems of AI right now, this is the generation we need to use.
Right.
Because they are not yet affected with the same biases we have. We've been here for a long time. We've seen the good, the bad of www to now. You know why? So
Sure.
this is the opportune moment for us to leverage technology, I mean AI, for using these young people.
Yeah.
Let's skill them enough. They can be able to understand the good and the bad of AI.
Right.
So they can use it in the right way. Let's skill them enough so they can provide those opportunities, or rather provide those skill sets within our different sectors, starting with government to healthcare,
Right.
and most of all in education, because
Right.
I am in that space. AI will allow someone in a remote village in Kilifi, where we go and train software developers to learn skills
Right.
of all kinds, to become a wholesome human being,
Yeah.
to learn how to earn money, to learn how to code, because of one simple platform. So our job is just make sure there's infrastructure
Yeah.
and then give them the opportunity.
Right.
It opens up access to opportunities that are very unbelievable. But that's also my opinion of AI. I know it's not the gospel truth,
Right.
but I think seeing what it has done in education,
Yeah.
I think it could change the lives of so many people. And for Africa right now, because we need to do a lot to catch up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And the pandemic took us back maybe thousands of years. So I think it will be the opportune time. And I'm really happy that those conversations are really happening here now.
Okay.
Yeah.
You live a full life, man. Your calendar is crazy.
Yeah.
So how do you ground yourself? What does your day look like? How do you structure your days?
Yeah.
Yeah. From when you get up. Yeah. I'm curious about your daily practices.
Yeah. So the beauty of, I think my job is that no one day is same to the other. But there are a couple of things that I do consistently to make sure that, I maintain also sanity in a sense. So for sure, I'm an avid reader. Like I read a lot.
Wow.
And I read anything and everything. And I think that's the beauty of curiosity. It's like I'm in the car going somewhere, I'm just reading something. Oh, I'm doing this, like I'm an avid reader. I'm not very big on exercise. I'm not, by the way, if you ask anyone who knows me, I don't even like walking. I'm like, why do we have to walk? See, we can, let's just use the car. So I think
I'm a supporter
I
there.
am a supporter, I love it. But I'm a very big advocate of well-being. So whether it's mental well-being, whether it's you want to try some yoga, you want to try,
Yeah.
just taking care of your like self-care is critical for me.
Right.
I like to spend time with family.
Okay.
I think I spend too much time with my family, which is not a bad thing.
No,
It's
that's
a
a
very
very good-
beautiful thing.
Which is very rare.
And it's very rare because I know, because a lot of people keep asking me that. Like if you see in my circle of influence, my closest friends are actually my relatives. So like my sister is one of my best friends and two other cousins are, like they're all like, we are a very close-knit family. We were, that's how we were brought up. And we were
Right.
able to like, so now they don't care you are this CEO, doing what, where. You are just our cousin. If you're having a challenge,
Yeah.
come and talk to us, vent to us. We're giving you the space. We don't judge you. We don't, So
Right.
it's a really good space to be in. I like to party. I won't lie,
Okay.
but it's like very quality. It's quality partying. I don't know if you get I'll explain what I mean.
Please do.
So kuna kuanga na hii kubash, but it's just okay. I'm just going to a random space and meet
Right.
random people and things like that.
Yeah.
So for me, because one of my greatest strengths is networking, I found a way to create spaces where other people who are like me can come and unwind.
Okay.
So yes, we're partying, but we are
Networking. Right. I love that.
So I remember so I made it a thing that even my birthdays are like
A
a
network.
network. Like it's a thing people look forward to every year because you come there. I remember the other day I met one of my friends, gym instructors, and I was like, hey, I'm happy I came to your bash. I got 5 new clients.
Oh, wow.
So it's things like that.
Wow.
It's like people will leave those spaces And then you later see them on Instagram, they are doing business together and things
Acha
like that.
nikwambie, if I don't get invited to the
So-
next birthday, nitakach.
I'll make sure ukuje. But yeah, so I found a way to create spaces where you can unwind and distress comfortably
Right.
because you have your peers. But also it's just a space where it's full of joy, It's just, everyone is showing up as they are authentically, which is something we really lack, especially when you're doing some of the work that we do.
That's true.
And then in this age of social media, people want to be connected to you for all the wrong reasons and things like that.
That's true.
So so there's a way I found how to do that, and I really enjoy doing that. At least every month, I have a space where we do that, and it's pretty dope.
You love books?
Yes.
Name for me top 3 books you'd recommend
Yeah.
for our listeners, our class to
All right. So of
read.
course, top. I think we agreed is Outliers.
Outliers.
Anytime I'm bored, I just read that book. My second one is a book that I really swear by, and it's called Start With Why by Simon Sinek.
I love Simon.
So
Start with why.
I know. So I really love Simon because his approach to leadership, especially with all the elements of empathy, is a
Yes.
lot we didn't get growing up.
Yes.
It was if you are a leader, especially a woman leader, you have to be a certain way. You have to be aggressive so people can listen to you. You have to be. And I realized in my leadership journey, that's not stuff I subscribe to. It's like stuff I used to argue with my mom about because she's like, if you want people to respect you as a leader, as a woman, you have to be tough and no nonsense. And I'm like, but why? That's not my personality. Why
That's
do I
not
have
me.
to conform
Yeah.
to that? So I feel like now getting to know about Simon Sinek, I got to understand this other side of it.
Right.
That's okay. It's okay to be empathetic as a leader. If anything, people respect you more.
Yeah.
So start with why, and the reason for that is because it also teaches you how your purpose is extremely critical in everything you do in life. Whether it's building brands, whether it's building products, building businesses. If you look at most of the products that are very popular in like Apple and all these other things,
Yeah.
they're selling a purpose. They don't necessarily sell a product.
Oh, yeah,
Like
that's true.
iPhone, from iPhone sijui 14 mpaka 16 zimekuwa zikifanana,
Yeah.
but there's something else they sell, and that's their purpose.
Right.
And so this book really teaches you, if you're in this journey, and it's just in every aspect of life. I think it's a book that everyone needs to read. It's a book I read. It's the first book I always read at the beginning of the year.
Oh, wow.
And I feel like it gives me motivation for the rest of the year. The third book is called Daring Greatly by Brené Brown.
I love Brené.
And honestly, I feel like that's just my tagline.
Yeah.
It's just daring greatly. Like that's me.
Yeah.
Like if I'm going to dare, should I do it bare minimum? See, I just do it greatly.
Right.
If I'm going to dream, it takes the same effort to dream a bad dream
Right.
and to dream a good dream. So why not? I mean,
Yeah.
So, but I just love, the aspects, the teachings that come from that book about, how to be brave, even in the face of adversity and things like that. So it's also a book I really, generally, I just love Brené, but I think it's a book everyone should
Both
read.
Brené and Simon
Yes.
really teach leadership from an empathetic.
Empathetic perspective, I
perspective.
think.
I love that.
So I really
Wow.
like that, yeah.
Your mantra, do you have a mantra that you live by?
So I have a couple, but I think one that resonates with me the most is it's a Latin saying, but I'll say it in English. It's fortune favors the bold. So just look at anybody who is courageous in life.
That's true.
In one way or another, they are very fortunate.
That's true.
They don't have to be doing good things. Look at Donald Trump. I'm just saying.
Bana, unajua YouTube iko unaweza zima
Unaweza
yani.
zima.
Nah.
No, but
Yeah.
I mean, I keep telling people I might not agree with his ideologies, but there's something he cracked about confidence and being
Yeah.
bold that I think he needs to find a way to bottle it and sell it. It will
That's
sell.
true. That is
Because
true.
that level of audacity is what you need
Yeah.
to succeed in life. Look
Yeah.
at Elon Musk.
Yeah.
All these people, there's something they You know, there's a certain set way of thinking that I feel like is not taught in school, you know?
That's true. That is true.
Yeah, but I think one of my key mantras is fortune favors the bold. I'm
love
like,
it.
let's go, let's try it. If it doesn't work, sour, but I don't want to sleep thinking, okay,
Yeah.
I didn't go and I didn't try it
Wow.
because of fear.
Fortune favors?
The bold.
Fortune favors the bold. I think that's an amazing place to end this conversation. I
Yes.
feel like you and I should have like 10 other conversations.
I'm always ready.
Yeah, I feel like when it comes to tech and AI,
Yes.
that's just a convo on its own. Entrepreneurship. And then
Yes.
there's just the your personality and building leadership.
Yes.
I feel like there's so many conversations we should have.
definitely have,
And I
yes.
hope if we get to invite you again, you'll
Yes,
come.
I'll definitely be back.
Man, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
I hope you really enjoyed our conversation and our lecture for the day. We're still filming at Longonot Place. Please book your staycation. Kwanza tumeingia ile wanasemanga ni zile miezi ziko na bus, October, September.
One long Friday.
Yeah.
It's one long Friday.
One long Friday. I love it. So if you have a staycation, you have a party, you have anything, just book your staycation with Longonot Place. Amazing space. And Mumbi, thank you again for
Thank
being
you so
here.
much, Phil. I'm happy. I'm very happy
Awesome.
to be here.
Right.